Welcome to the 2017-2018 school year. This is a review of your staff handbook, policies, procedures, and schedules. As we kick off a new school year, it's a great time to review that part of any solid school system focuses on vision, mission, goals, systems, as well as instructional practices. You'll see a star under systems and instruction as those become our focus for this year as we take a look at social emotional framework and our PBIS systems at Flint Springs, as well as our instructional practices through our last minute details of the guided math process. Derek Peterson says, "There is nothing as unequal as the equal treatment of kids with unequal levels of support." That quote will drive a lot of the work that we do this year as we focus on the social-emotional framework of our students and how we can better be advocates for them and their lagging skills. The mission statement of Flint Springs Elementary is encouraging minds to grow, hearts to care, and lives to share as we focus on academics, character development, and service. This year at Flint Springs, we will continue to monitor 4 different elements of our student success. We will take a look at math and reading mastery. 80% of our students are what our focus is on math achievement. We did not make that goal last year by just a few percentage points, so this year we're hoping to attain that 80% mastery in math. In reading, because we met our 80% mark, we've bumped things up and we're trying to reach a higher percentage rate of mastery this year. So 85% will be our focus for language arts. Under attendance, we'll be monitoring that monthly to see if we can reach our goal of 98% of students being in attendance on a month-to-month basis. And finally, we will monitor student behavior through the tracking of student referrals, hoping to stay below 3% monthly, which equates to about 15 students. This dashboard progress can be monitored through the dashboard bulletin board in our hallway. Here's a reference for you when it comes to Huntington County Community School Corporation vision, mission, core values, and guiding philosophy. Now we'll review just a few general guidelines and information regarding policy and procedure at Flint Springs. If you have an accident with a student in your classroom, please make sure that accident is reported to Mrs. Kreider in the clinic ASAP so that correct documentation can be filed. Likewise, if you would have an injury, it's important that you follow up with Mrs. Kreider within 24 hours of the injury occurring. Even if you don't think you're hurt, it's often that an injury happens and the repercussions of that don't take place until several weeks after the fact when our body is sore and we realize there might actually be a problem. So no matter what the accident is, even if you don't feel you're hurt, please follow up with Mrs. Kreider so the correct workman's compensation forms can be completed. In the event of administrative absence, I appreciate your understanding as I have to be out of the building sometimes for various meetings or trainings myself. It's important that you follow the correct chain of command, contacting Mrs. Metzger or Mr. Reed, and resource if you need support. They will handle the situation and make a decision based on their professional knowledge, and they will make sure that they communicate how they've handled that situation back to you. This is a great place for us to note that Mr. Reed will be with us only 2 days this year, and our days are Tuesday and Thursday. Regarding announcements, we will have our morning announcements as usual with the hope that we will certainly be finally making that big transition to our digital announcements instead of just over the intercom. However, it's important to note here that announcements need to be emailed to me or put on my desk by 3 p.m. the day prior to the announcement being made. Any announcements that are plopped on my desk the morning of will not be covered that morning. Attendance procedures continue to be the same, but it's imperative that you make sure your attendance is reported daily by 8:30 a.m. Certainly we will extend grace, knowing that sometimes our day gets away from us before we even realize it, but please make sure that you're not a chronic offender of reporting your attendance late. Beginning of the year forms shouldn't be too much of an issue for you, as most of that is taken care of this year through our online registration. Being there procedures we'll follow up on at the end of our handbook review, as there's a checklist that we're going to ask everyone to follow this year as you are making plans for a being there experience. Cafeteria procedures remain the same. It's important that that money in your envelopes gets brought down to the office as well, making sure that that's promptly sent down by 8:30 in the morning also. Please ask that you would attend to that and not be a chronic offender of those being turned in late also. I know your mornings are busy, but we need to make sure that that guideline of 8:30 is kept. You'll want to make sure that you note some of the changes in the price of lunches and breakfasts right here in the center of your page. And last but not least, we will follow cafeteria procedure PBIS stations this year, but we'll be doing that on Thursday instead of Wednesday to give you a day to build relationships and get acclimated with your class. Copier guidelines remain the same. You will use your personal IDs to access copies through those machines. And we please want to draw your attention to the fact that copies being made in the midst of your instructional day are not the way we want copies to be handled. Please make sure that you plan ahead so that you're not having to make a run to the copy room. That leaves our classes unattended, and when we ask a colleague next door to just keep an ear open or keep an eye out and check in on our class while we're out of the room does not constitute correct supervision. Discipline policy will be followed a little bit differently this year, and you'll be brought up to speed with that by your cohorts that were a part of the PBIS training today. Those office referrals will be made a little bit more easy for you this year, as you will do it through our PBIS Rewards app, which I think you'll find very user-friendly and a lot more teacher-friendly in terms of getting them filled out and getting a student sent to us in a timely fashion. When it comes to dismissal, please make sure that you attend to personal duties that you have after school in terms to curb club procedures. Dress code for the staff I will talk about for just a little bit here. I know that that has been a hot topic for us in the past. I will tell you my personal mantra that I have remained the same with from the time I started at Flint Springs. I care way more about how you love and teach students than I do about how you dress. With that said, my expectation is that you will dress professionally. My expectation is that, ladies especially, when you bend over, nothing hangs out. That when your backside is revealed, all of your backside is covered. As long as those things are kept in mind and you monitor those well on your own, there's no need for us to discuss dress code. Please don't take it upon yourself to scrutinize the dress code and professionalism of your colleagues. Let's focus on what we're here for, which is to love and teach students, and if there is a dress code violation, I will attend to that personally with that staff member. Jeans days will be determined for the year following our United Way Pacesetter results. If we meet our Pacesetter goals as a staff, then we will have Jeans Day every Friday. If we're unable to meet that Pacesetter goal, then we will have jeans every payday. If you need to access absence forms, you can get those in the teacher workroom. If you find that they run out, please check in with Lori so she can get that to you. And do your best to complete those absence forms and get them turned in to Lori beforehand, unless, of course, it's an unforeseen absence. Faculty meetings will continue to be the last Wednesday of every month and begin at 7:05. Remember, if you're on time, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, that could be a problem. Grades is another area that we need to discuss a little more in depth. Teachers are expected to keep all grades updated in PowerSchool. Unfortunately, because this is not something that we have self-regulated, I'm going to need to get into PowerSchool and monitor this a little more closely this year. Updated means that you should enter grades once a week. You'll have to be intentional about maybe scheduling that into your plans so that you can get those grades in one time per week. Our goal is to make sure we have a lot better usage of PowerSchool by our parents And if we're going to promote that to them, we need to make sure that the grades that they're checking actually are updated and can drive good conversations with their students. Just a reminder that each subject area should have at least 9 to 10 assignment grades per quarter, and these assignments should align from class to class within each grade level. We don't want there to be discrepancy. An A in one class should be the same as an A in another, especially within the same grade level. Guest teachers follow a 7 to 11:30 a.m. day and 11:30 to 3 p.m. half day, and certainly 7 to 3 if they are staying and covering for you all day long. Please make sure that your lesson plans are explicit and that they are left in your yellow sub folder on your desk. A few items in our handbook portion I will skip over because they're not necessarily things that we need to draw super close attention to right now. Lunch orders from staff that are done particularly on paydays from outside restaurants need to make sure that you have the correct money and order information to Lori so that she can take care of that for you. Certainly when you can pay by credit card and the delivery is simply made and left for you, that makes the chaos in the office run a lot smoother for her. Newsletter expectations will continue to remain the same. Classroom newsletters should be sent home twice a month or every other week. A building newsletter will be sent home once a month. And staff newsletters will be sent home not sent home, but sent out to you via email once a week to let you know of the upcoming events and schedules. Perm records need to stay in the office to be accessed, and you need to reference those sometime within probably the first month of school to make yourself familiar with IEPs, 504s, and any pertinent custody issues that could be recorded in those files. The next item that we should talk just a little bit about is teacher absence. If you need to be absent for more than a short period of time, a guest teacher should be requested through Region 8. Short period of time constitutes 2 hours. If you are going to be gone longer than 2 hours, a guest teacher should be requested. Also keep in mind that those requests need to be finalized through Region 8. Even if you set up coverage with someone in a personal conversation, it needs to be finalized in Region 8 to make sure that all of our ducks are in a row. If you have a visiting pet coming to your classroom, please make sure that you have let us know about that visitation at the office and that proof of shot records have been turned into Mindy prior to that pet visiting. If those regulations are not followed, then we have to close down the pet visitation, which can make for some pretty sad kiddos. If you're coming in to do weekend work or work late in the evening outside our regular school hours, make sure that you are being cognizant of our entry and exit procedures for signing in, disengaging the security code and alarm system, and re-engaging it when you leave. Here's a list of our staff birthdays. Few of our new staff members I think are not on here, so if you see that you are a staff member that's new and we don't have your birthday listed, please make sure you get that to me so I can add you to our list. We love to celebrate your special day together. Here's an access for you to get telephone directory information for all of our staff members in the building, as well as our emergency call chain. We certainly don't have to access this hardly ever, but in the event we would need to, this is your reference for who you would be responsible to call or who you can expect a call from. School-wide committees will be covered here in the next couple of weeks when the dust settles from our back-to-school kickoff, but you can reference which committee you signed up for at the end of the school year. Likewise, any new teachers can take a look at what our committees are and what the obligations of those committees are to see where you would like to plug in. RTI committees are highlighted here. You'll note changes in our RTI chairs as well as our RTI note takers. Just to highlight that the master schedule for these meetings is housed in the binder next to the mailboxes on the counter. It is imperative that all meetings not only be scheduled with your team via email, but they are all recorded in that calendar in the binder for tracking purposes and archives. All meetings will be held in team chair classrooms. Here is the master schedule for you to access whenever you need an extra copy or an extra reference. Color copies will be made and handed out to you at our staff meeting. Likewise, here is our daily schedule in terms of bells, arrival, and dismissal for preschool through 5th grade, and our delayed schedule coverage as well. When it comes to meetings at Flint Springs, you can reference this page in our handbook to find out what meetings can be accounted for on which days, and specific dates throughout the school year for office staff meetings, leadership meetings, as well as Title I resource and classified staff meetings. It's important to note that if you are serving on a committee besides leadership, the expectation is that you would have a minimum of 1 meeting per quarter, and those will be scheduled by your committee chair and announced in the near future. Here's your Curb Club duty list and procedures, your lunch schedule and recess schedule. I would like to highlight that we've made a couple of changes to hopefully accommodate for some of the referral issues that we see on a regular basis during lunch and recess. That makes sense since that's our most unstructured time of the day, but to cut down on those, we've made a couple of changes for this year. Number 1, your grade level will eat and go to recess only with the other classes from your grade level. Hopefully, by not mixing up grade levels at the same time, that will cut down on some of the negative interactions and issues that we had. Likewise, supervision has been assigned by grade level, so we will no longer have 2 people supervising lunch and then your kids going to 2 different supervisors for recess. Whoever supervises them in one area will transition with them to the next area so that their expectations, procedures, and reinforcement can be consistent. Our 2-hour delay lunch schedule is listed here. Impact rotation is listed and has been updated with some tweaks that needed to be made as of today. Susie has put together a library schedule for each of you. Kudos to you for making sure that everyone is signed up for that before our kickoff first day of school. Here's a reference for lifelong guidelines and life skills, and your by-the-book schedule for 3rd and 4th grade. All of your classroom drill and emergency procedures are listed here and highlighted. You'll want to make sure that you take the time to go through those, especially if you are a new staff member. The last thing that you'll see here in terms of procedures are those procedure posters in mini form. These are great for you to reference for students that might have trouble with procedures, or for you to familiarize yourself as you're practicing and introducing those procedures as you kick off your year. Your Flint Springs dismissal form is listed here for you and will be updated as of tomorrow afternoon with our specific bus drivers and the lot spaces that they will be in at the end of the school day. Please make sure that you update this list and print off a copy to give to Lori in the office by the end of the day on Friday. The last 3 pages of our handbook highlight forms. The first form is that Being There experience checklist that I referenced earlier in our handbook review. This field trip checklist needs to be completed by any grade level that is planning a trip. This will help to ensure that the entire process runs smoothly, that we're all following the same process, and that communication goes out to everyone that needs to know when a grade level is leaving our building. Please make sure to make your request to the principal for prior approval. Once approval is granted, you complete the My Learning Plan field trip request, send home information regarding the trip, permission slips as necessary, 10 days to 2 weeks prior to your trip, and a copy of this in the office would certainly be appreciated. Collect money from your students, remembering that all money needs to be turned into the office with a sheet accounting for who has paid and who needs assistance. If chaperones need to pay, be sure their money is included at the same time. Also, please keep in mind that if this is a trip that you have planned, all students need to attend unless the office has been notified. Lack of money is not a reason that we keep a student from going on a trip. Send an email no later than 2 weeks in advance to the field trip group that has been created for you in Outlook. I have highlighted how you can access that Outlook group here, FS_field_trip. This will notify cafeteria staff, impact teachers, office, nurse, and custodial staff to make sure that everyone knows who will be leaving the building and at what times. Notify recess personnel if you're going to be missing recess. Talk to resource if you need support for a special needs student. Once support's arranged, make sure that that person has coverage for any duties that they may be responsible for. 2 to 3 days prior to the trip, make sure you look on the trip report via our school website under transportation. If you're not sure how to access this report, please see me and I will walk you through it. It is important that the contact person for your trip makes phone communication with the bus drivers to confirm your trip, arrival of buses, and details for the trip. Verify departure and return times at the office, and please check out medical supplies and daily medications for those that will be taking the trip. Do not do this the morning of. Please make contact with Mindy prior to the day of your field trip. Following that 10-step checklist should help to ensure that our trips run smooth and communication gets made to everyone. The final 2 pages of your handbook show a teacher observation form as well as a 3-2-1 book study form. These are 2 forms that you can utilize to earn PGP points if you choose to go check out another teacher and their instructional practices for a bump up in something that you know they do well. If you complete this form and turn it in to me, I will check over it and sign it so that you can use it for PGP points and fill out the professional growth form that will have to be turned in at the end of the year. Remember, everyone is responsible for turning in verification of 45 PGP points per year so that you can get your unit under education. If you have a master's degree, you already earned that point and you don't have to keep track of 45 PGP points during the year. I think that's the end of all of our handbook information. Thanks for listening to what I know was likely a dull presentation, but flipping this PD helps us to have valuable face time, focusing on relationship and professional development instead of on the housekeeping that is important is conveyed. I'm looking forward to a great year with you, and I'm excited to visit your classrooms and see the new faces that are a part of our Flint Springs family for 17-18.